Watch where you're going, you landlubber. Oh, hey there. Hey, this is Justin, and I'm going to show you how to do an oil change today in a 3YM30. That's a 30 horsepower diesel engine in a 2008 Ranger Tug R21-EC. Let's go do this.
Okay, for this project you're going to need an oil pump, either manual or electric, an oil container to put the oil in, motor oil to put motor back into the engine, an oil filter, an oil funnel, a filter wrench, although I didn't need one, and some rags. So I chose an electric pump. I got this one on Amazon. I strapped it to this oil container, ran a tube through the top of the lid, and there you go, self-contained oil changer, and that's where the old oil will go so I can recycle it later. For the replacement oil, I'm using Dello 400 15W40, and I'm using a genuine Yanmar replacement oil filter. Of course, you can use whatever filter you want as long as it's compatible. First thing I'm going to do is start the engine, let the motor run for about 10 to 15 minutes. This way the oil will warm up and it will flow easier when I go to pump it out. Now that it's nice and warm, I kill the engine. I'm going to pump the old oil out of the dipstick, so first thing I need to do is take the dipstick out. While it's out, I'm going to wipe it entirely clean just to get any old oil residue off the stick. Using my fancy oil pump, I'm going to take the suction end of the tube and cut the end of the tube at an angle. This way it won't sit flat against the bottom of the oil pan, and I have a better chance of getting all the oil out the first time. Then simply insert the tubing all the way down into the dipstick opening until you feel it touch the bottom. It's time to pump the oil out, so supply power to the oil pump by hooking it up to the batteries and start pumping out the oil. After a few seconds, you should see oil starting to flow through the pump and into the container. The amount of time it takes to complete is going to vary depending upon your type of pump, but for me it took about 10 minutes. I opened the lid from time to time just to make sure the oil was still flowing. I know that it's finished because I can see the oil start to trickle and just about stop coming out. Once that's done, it's time to take the old oil filter off and replace it with a new one. It's a good idea to put a bunch of rags under the filter as well as under the engine because some oil is going to spill out when you take the filter off. I just use my hand to unscrew this one, but you might need a filter wrench. Before you continue, you may want to take a rag and clean up your mess. Also, make sure the oil filter gasket is not stuck on the engine block. If it is, make sure to clean it off entirely. Using your new oil filter, take some fresh oil and rub it on the outside of the gasket. This will allow for a proper seal and the gasket won't bunch up as you screw the new one on. It's also a good idea to take some fresh oil and pour it into the oil filter about 1/3 full. This way you don't have as much air trapped in the new filter. Install the new filter and screw it on about 3/4 of a turn after it's snug. Do not over tighten as you might compromise the seal. Put the dipstick back in and let's start filling the engine with the new oil. From the top of the engine, unscrew the oil filler cap. Take the cap off and clean it with a rag, again just to get any old oil residue off so it doesn't go back in your engine. And while you're at it, wipe the top of the opening as well. Now take your oil funnel and start filling the engine with oil. This motor holds 3 quarts of oil, but add 2 quarts and check the levels because you may not have gotten all the oil out. The oil level should be between the lower mark and the upper mark on your dipstick. That's where it is now, but when I run the motor it's going to go down a little bit. Remove your funnel, put the cap back on, and then start the motor for about 10 minutes and let the oil run through the engine. While the motor's running, take this time to check the oil filter and make sure there's no oil leaking out underneath and that you've got a good seal. Stop the motor, add more oil until you feel like you're at the proper level, and then check the dipstick again. Once you've got it to the proper levels, put the dipstick back in and you're done.
Okay, that's it. I hope this was helpful. Truth be told, this is the first time I've ever done that on this boat, so please don't take my word as an expert. If you know a better way to do it, cleaner, smarter, faster, love to hear it. I'll try it next year, but I think I'm good for this season, so I'm going to get back to my 8-knot tugging.